Striding into the fray, the Treasurer has handed down his third budget, promising the economy is turning a corner, with inflation settling and financial help on offer. There's energy bill relief and income tax cuts across the board.
Why are you giving it to everyone and not targeting it at people who really need it the most?
We need to recognise that these cost of living pressures don't begin and end with people on fixed incomes. There are a lot of people doing it tough in Middle Australia as well.
Rising costs have been the big challenge, forcing up interest rates and wiping out people's spending power. But now the federal government is confident the end is in sight. After peaking at 7.8%, inflation is due to come down to under 3% by the end of the year and stay at 2.75% for a few more years. Wages are forecast to rise either 0.5% or a full percentage point higher than inflation, meaning a small but steady increase in real wages, a welcome change from recent years. But right now, the rising cost of living is still biting, so the government is spending money to help households save. There's $3.5 billion in power bill relief for everyone. From July, rebates of $300 will be available to all households and $325 for around 1 million small businesses. It's not as much as was offered last year, but this time no one misses out. Rental prices have been one of the biggest causes of hip pocket pain, so there's more help on offer. The maximum rates of Commonwealth rent assistance will increase 10%. It's expected this will help nearly 1 million households. Combined with last year's boost, it will give renters as much as $70 extra each fortnight. But the biggest help will be the rejigged Stage 3 income tax cuts, which will see extra money in the pockets of nearly 14 million taxpayers. That means an average tax cut of $1,900 starting July 1. One of the biggest savings measures in the budget comes from the NDIS. A new compliance crackdown will save $14.4 billion. But that's only enough to cancel out the $14.4 billion in fresh cost blowouts to the scheme.
It's a responsible budget which eases cost of living, fights inflation and makes really important investments in the future of our economy. It is equal parts relief, restraint and reform.
The government is buoyed by delivering its second surplus in a row, the first in nearly 2 decades. But while the government is in the black this financial year, its deficits every year after that, worth $122 billion over the next 4 years. It's not just the cash balance that's looking worse for wear in the years ahead. Economic growth has been downgraded and won't rise above 2.5% for another 4 years. That's well below our major trading partners. But the budget notes the risk that conflict in the Middle East and Europe could change all of that. The Albanese government's big plan to shift the economy is to focus on the world's clean energy transition and the manufacturing opportunities it brings. It's been dubbed Future Made in Australia. The $22.7 billion package will cover a range of schemes over the next 10 years. The top priorities are tax incentives for critical minerals needed for clean energy, worth $7 billion, and a similar tax incentive for hydrogen production. That's another $6.7 billion. But the money won't be available until 2027.
It's all about making our economy more productive, more dynamic, more competitive, so that we can make our country and our people more prosperous into the future.
Forecasts, predictions and hopes bundled up in the budget papers.